Hey everybody, hope you're all having a good day. It's Monday Afternoon Trainers and we're continuing our Eastern Chronicles catch-up playthrough. When we last did, we just finished the first episode of the second game Resolve. So now we're on the Memories of the Chronicles. And that's it, let's just go. We're just about to start, so let's go. Episode 2. The Memories of the Chronicles.
It was a ghastly tale of a winter's night. One of an invisible killer and a crime perpetrated on the pavement along Briar Road. As the victim lay at death's door, the mystery of just who had stabbed the young lady from behind had been resolved. But no sooner had my friend saved that Eastern exchange student from his harrowing plight, then in the dim, flickering shadows of gaslight did a second bizarre crime rend the stillness of that very night. I dare say most can still recall the sensational headlines of the day. Haunted apartment of death, the condemned criminal's curse, the dread demon of coal gas.
Oh.
Yet, though the great detective had at once discerned the truth upon his arrival at the scene, it only proved to be the overture that announced the rising of the curtain on a most tragic play.
Oh dear. My name is Shreen Second Hour Hurdle. I'm a fletching lawyer just started out on my journey. 6 months ago, I arrived as a visiting student of law. I made the long voyage across the sea from the Empire of Japan to here, London, England. And on the way, in quite extraordinary circumstances, I made the acquaintance of a world-famous detective. Currently, I reside in the eye of the detective's own lodgings. Hi. The detective's own lodgings, where I run my legal consultancy of sorts. I have successfully defended a number of clients in Britain's highest court, the Old Bailey. But since a particular grueling and unforgivable legal battle 4 months ago now, I haven't returned to the courtroom. In truth, I have lost my right to return. But that epic trial was just one small part of an epic tale. A tale which nigh about to awaken from its slumber. Thanks to the letter that arrived this morning from my homeland. What a delicious smell wafting up stars. It must be nearly time for breakfast. I better go to Mr. Shrooms' suite and say good morning to the great detective and his flatmate. 30th of August, 7:28 AM, Shrooms' suite. Ah, Bruno! Goon! I was just about to call up to you. The bacon's ready. You're born in Iris. It smells delicious as usual. Before we eat though, I have some news. I have a surprise one and shh! None of the word, Mr. Naruhodo. This could be just the abstruse thing from my pre-breakfast stagnation repelling mental stimulation, my dear fellow. Warning to you too, Mr. Sholmes. Ah, yes, I see. Oh! Too close. Too close. The truth is clear to me as day. My facilities of observation has revealed it again. What are you talking about? You must not know, Naruhodo. You have, this very morning, met with a surprise. Well, is it not the case? Really, my dear fellow. It's barely warrants explanations. Firstly, your hair is particularly upkeen. Some remnants of a bird's nest. Secondly, you have neglected to fasten the third button of your jacket. Clearly, When considered together, these two facts point to you having been flustered this morning. Can I talk now? But of course, of course. No, I don't look for admiration, you understand. My hair always looks like this. It's been this way since I first met you. Oh, it has? And the button, it ripped off last night, if you remember. By you. Who you put your button off? Ah, yes, if I recall the incident now. It was after supper, was it not? As I mean the fence, I picked up my violin and began to play the wailing notes of a hunting tune. Then, to my utter dismay, the third string snapped! Why did this happen? Why? And so wonder then, that in my fixation, I grabbed the first button I saw and ripped it from its proper place. Well, I'd like it back now, please. It's troubling me that I can't fasten my jacket. And it's troubling me that you expect me to know where it is. Somewhere thereabout on the floor, one presumes. Helpful. What matters at the present time, my dear fellow, is simply whether or not my deduction is unerring. Right. Huey, Bruno said when he came in, didn't he? I have a surprise this morning. Well, that really is a surprise. Yes. The man is the pride of the British Empire. The famous consulting detective, Mr. Sherlock Holmes. There can't be a single person in the world who doesn't know his name. Alright then, enough of this silly conversation. Come and eat this bacon before it gets cold. And I have a new herbal tea for you to try too. My latest special blend. And here we have Iris Wilson. This is Holmes' lodger and companion. A truly exceptional young girl who's the author of the highly successful serialization in here in London. Yes, The Adventures of Sherlock Holmes, as published in Randus magazine. So, Mr. Naruto, why don't you put us out of our misery? What surprised you this fine morning? Ah, well, I received a letter from Japan. Oh, from Susie, you mean? Was it really? That's right. And she has some rather startling news, in fact. Ah, intriguing indeed. You must tell us all this all over. You must tell us about it all over breakfast. Oh yes, what fun! Huh? I can't. Oh, Mr. Holmes, about this. Shh. Not a word. Ah, yes, I see. This would be a collar for a breed of minuscule canines with a particular long neck, and for winter use. Actually, see how I always swore this symbolizes my role as a defense lawyer. Precisely. Which leads us to one conclusion. There are is, in fact, a particular long neck of a miniature canine. I'm starting to wish I never showed him this now. This man's sparking mad. Hey, Aspires. My lodging Naruhodo's leadable consistency. My lodging and office located in the attic above the suite of rooms rented by Mr. Holmes. I call it a consultancy, but clients aren't exactly beating down the door. It's so quiet up in the attic without Susie around, isn't it? And Holmes' suite, the home and office of the world-famous detective and his young companion, Iris. Seems people all over the globe come to engage his consulting in detective services. Tell me everything, Bruno. Don't worry, there's plenty to eat for breakfast. Alright, this is the letter I arrived from Japan this morning by international post. Oh, hi, lovely. Look at this beautiful handwriting. I wish I could read. And has your judicial assistant for? May I ask? He's very well, thank you. In fact, according to what she's written, she actually appeared as a lawyer at the Japanese Supreme Court and won a case. Yeah, really? Oh, isn't that wonderful? Isn't she wonderful? Well, I cut up all your good stuff, my dear fellow. I won cases too, you know. Apparently, Mr. Nasumi appeared in the trials as a witness. Nasumi. No, I don't recall the name. Of course you do. We helped the man. Twice. You know. In those 2 cases that took part in Barrier Road 6 months ago. Ah! The moustache twitchy man with a somewhat feline eye and a moustache. He didn't have 2 mustaches, Huey. Yes, who could forget those 2 cases? They made a very deep impression on me. Although I must confess, the details are a little hazy now. A very deep impression they made on you, clearly. So, what's this starting news penned by Mr. Sano? Do you remember the case of the haunted lodging, Mr. Sholmes? Ah, yes. It's very interesting, you know. I don't feel entirely uncertain that the case of that nature did not occur. You totally forgotten that. Anyway, I heard letter. Miss Sano asked that we read over her case notes again and investigate further. So it took place half a year ago. For what purpose? Because of something that Mr. Nasumi said to her, apparently. He suggested that the real reason why she was called back to Japan so suddenly might have something to do with that case of the haunted lodging. Oh. On Mr. Nasumi's return to Japan, Mr. Sano's father questioned him about the case, she says. And something Mr. Nasumi said appears to trouble Professor Mikutaba, prompting him to send the telegraph. Oh, that kiss, yes! It was very strange, wasn't it? Yes. And I had compiled the whole story into a nice, neat manuscript ready for publication too. But then Huey here was all funny about it, remember? He was very mean. That story must not be published, you said. Very mysteriously as well. Really? I said that? Are you sure? Do you perhaps know something about it as well, Mr. Sholmes? About why Mrs. Sano suddenly told 4 months ago that she had to return to Japan? It's been 4 months now since we waved Susie off at Dover. It was such a shock, wasn't it? The way she just suddenly announced that she had to go back to Japan. Indeed it was. Due to a telegram she received from her homeland, I believe. That's right. And her return urgently. Yes, because her father had passed away. No. It was just that he was suffering from a high fever, the cause of which was unknown. He's not dead. According to this letter, that is about her father's fever was just a ruse. A ruse? So Susie lied to her so that she may get the voice back home. Why would he do that? I have to admit, I have absolutely no idea. But she believes it's most certainly related to the kiss of the haunted lodgings. Summoning her back to Japan so suddenly like that. I wonder what Mr. Sano's father is hiding. Hey, do you know what it's all about? He's already got the coat and hat. Ah, well, who can say? What? But you said... Please, I have engagements, my dear fellow. My calendar is quite surprisingly full today. On the strict... Management analysis of the matter would be excessive. Sorry, yeah, excessive, I feel. Even if I were quite at leisure. Sure. So, none the point of my absence. Would you, Iris? I will hurry. Don't worry. See you later. He scuffled off rather quickly there. I think perhaps Professor Mikotaba isn't the only person hiding something here. Suzuki-san was involved in 2 cases, and only one of them was forbidden from being published. By of all people, Mr. Sholmes. Aha! I found them at last! Iris! Are they? The news with the kiss, that's right. She's in the companion of the guy. The kiss of the haunted lodging. Do you want to read it, Bruno? Absolutely. Thank you, Iris. I have no idea what secrets could be hiding in the shadows of this case. But perhaps if I read over the notes again, something might come to light. Thus is spared. And so, Iris and I decided to read over the case notes again. Everything from what happened to our investigation and the fierce battle in court that followed, reliving every detail. I just need to find a clue. And I have all the time in the world, because of course, I'm no longer allowed to practice law in the courts of Great Britain. It was 6 months ago. A mysterious incident that unfolded on the wintry street of London. A young woman was found lying on the snowy pavement in a briar road with a knife in her back. Fortunately, her life was spared. She was unconscious for several days following the incident. The fog was thick, and no one saw her attack her, but by a cruel twist of fate, a visiting Japanese student was walking behind her at the time and was duly arrested. That man was Suzuki-san, and the man who effected his arrest was Mr. Sholmes. Believing in our compatriot's innocence, Susanoo-san and I decided to represent Suzuki-san in court. And, after a growing trial of many twists and turns, we finally managed to prove his innocence. Joyful, joyous, jubilation was the man's reaction after that trial. His jubilant jubilation was short-lived. We received a telegram from Mr. Sholmes the following morning. Victim of Briar Road stabbing has regained conscience. Hurry to Bart's at once! So Suzuki-san, Susanoo-san, and I summoned the heart handsome and headed immediately to the hospital. "21st of February, 5:30 a.m. Sir Bavalone's Hospital Recovery Ward. The mouse there. There you are at last! Good morning, Mr. Sholmes. I think not. Oh! You're late! What on earth took you so long? The telegram only arrived at 5 o'clock, Mr. Sholmes. And it's a 20-minute ride to the hospital. That's right. It's 5:30 now. I think we made a good time. Had a good time. The time is utterly irrelevant. The fact is, I've been waiting for what has felt like an eternity. Ah. In point of fact, I myself have woken at 4 this morning by the telegram boy. I'm feeling it was somewhat unjust that I alone have been rused at such an hour. I sent one to you. Well, thanks for that. Anyway, you're here now, so the victim is over there. He's only just regaining conscience. You should introduce yourself, and I shall start from here. That lady was found on the snow-covered pavement with a knife in her back. Her name is... Ah, yes, here we are. Miss Green. Okay. Oh, you're right. There's no balls in that cabinet, isn't there? Do you think it's safe to keep them like that? If you were a person patient here, I feel sure you take some medicine by mistake when you were half asleep. But that's a worry. At least the cabin has a lock, even though it's only a flimsy looking one. Oh, I no doubt you managed to unlock that somehow while you were half asleep as well. There are limits to what I can do when I'm half asleep, you know, Mr. Sano. This rather wooden figure isn't the most charming, is it? Ah, I think that's a decoration, Mr. Naruto. It's an artist's mannequin, I believe. Used when practicing sketching for human forms in different poses. Really? It's not like what you call a typical figure for that purpose, though, is it? No, I suppose not. I confess I've never seen one quite so full-figured before. Well, if you want to draw a fully figured person, it's the right tool for the job. That must be a bag of Miss Green's personal belongings. She was brought directly here after she was found stabbed in the pavement, though. I expected a family member or friend, or a friend or family member, depends on how you want to have that, probably brought some things here for her. Alright then, let's see what's inside. And she's closing it down on... No, Mr. Naruto. You must never scrutinize a young maiden's personal belongings. But the young maiden might have chocolate, biscuits, or caramel. Look, there's a photograph in this frame here. Oh yes, it's a picture of a young gentleman. It looks to be about the same age as Miss Green, I would say. Perhaps the young woman's special someone, do you think? My, Mr. Naruto, I didn't know you had a sense for matters of the heart. Not in the least. I sincerely said the first thing I thought of. Good morning. Hello, I'm, Rinu Loki Naruto from the Empire of Japan. Oh no, was it your night, Dad? Are you the man who? No. I'm a lawyer. And I'm Chisano Mikutaba. Pleased to meet you. Oh no, was it your night, Dan? Are you the one? No, I assure you. I'm Mr. Naruto, judicial assistant. We heard that you regained conscience and once came to give you our best wishes. Best wishes for me? Thank you. I'm Olive. Olive Green. I'm an artist. Well, no, that's not right, is it? What I mean is, I'm trying to be an artist. Well, what I mean is, I desperately want to be an artist. The issue is, I don't have any talent. I know I don't. So whether I was stabbed in the back. I don't think that's related, actually. Nice. This young woman seems to bend over backwards to put herself down. Since we're here, we should ask her about what happened from her perspective, I suppose. You were suddenly struck in the back by a blade as you were walking along the pavement. What a terrible spirit you have, Miss Green. It was so cold that day, and the fog was so thick, I couldn't see a thing. That was 4 days ago, I think. Isn't that right? Yes, that's right. I'm afraid you've been coming to us all that time. But the kiss has been solved, hasn't it? What happened here in hospital, I mean? Indeed it has, my dear madame. Spectacularly, by none other than I, Sherlock Sholmes. Mr. Sholmes, as you well know, it was Mr. Naruhodo's hard work in court that solved this case. Are you yet to hear what happened, Mrs. Green? Yes, I'm afraid so. A gentleman from the police force is supposed to be coming to fill me in shortly. Oh, I see. We come around seems to me and everyone frantically busy. I'm so sorry. I should never regain conscience. It was selfish of me. Oh no! We're also relieved that you're... I'm the man, Miss Green. We really are. That kind of attitude. Maybe our Sherman should be blue, not green. So you're an artist, are you, Miss Green? Oh no, I couldn't possibly claim that. I'm a fledgling artist at best. I'm a student of art, really, at the Thorndike Academy of Fine Arts. Oh my. An Academy of Fine Arts? Britain is such a wonderful country. Hey, Miss Green, do you live hereabouts? Oh no, actually, I don't deserve it, but I have a little fat flat on Braxton Road. See, quite very interesting. Oh no, is it? Braxton is some 10 shops away on the underground from here. And Thorndike Academy is a mere 3-minute walk from the Braxton Town Centre. Does that matter, Mr. Sholmes? Perhaps not, but Briar Road is far less salubrious part of town by comparison, well in by those of inferior means. Including the magnificent Mr. Moustache. Inferior means. I suppose the second does fit the bill. It struck me out of the ordinary for a young fine art student to be walking in such a district. That's all. What's this? Suddenly clamped up. Mr. Sholmes, you should be ashamed of yourself. Prying into a young man's private affair. Oh dear me, do forgive me. If you don't mind, I'm being discharged, sure. So I need to pack up my things. Yes, of course. We won't keep you. Thank you so much, Miss Green. Is there a narrow father here? Mr. Narrow Father? Narrow Father now? Well, if you're looking for Naruhodo, the lawyer, that's me, bud. Ah, Mr. Naruhodo. Good, this is for you. It's a message from from Mr. Saucy Nutsmeg. Okay, okay. I know that's when you got Saucy Nutsmeg. Why am I a kid now? Why did I see your childhood? Mr. Nasumi sent a message to me. Oh, it's Suzuki Nasumi. It's just been hilarious. Now, why would a policeman be delivering a message from Mr. Nasumi? Exactly, what's going on? What's the Scotland Yard constable doing playing delivery boy at this time in the morning? Arg! What are you waiting for? Let me see that. Oh. Well, this is most unexpected. Something wrong, Sholmes? Something wrong, Mr. Sholmes, he says. Have you never seen this note? No. I could have. I've seen that London's criminals have no intention of letting the great detective rest. A new case calls. Case of murder, no less. List of party runs. Well, that murder. Call a cab. Time is of the essence. But the trouble is, we have yet to read Mr. Nasumi's notes. I was thinking we all pay him a visit at his lodging once we did. That would be entirely convenient. Convenient? What do you mean? It's all here in the notes, my dear fellows. The murder we must investigate took place at Mr. Mustache's lodgings. Wait, what? I'll hear a forest at once. It was only yesterday that Suzuki-san was in court and we were dispelling doubts of his innocence. And like the very next day, there's a murder at the man's own address. He may very well be the unluckiest man alive. Or so it seemed to us at the time. But we were soon to discover that it was worse than we thought. First February, 7:18 a.m. Mr. Simi's lodging, ground floor. Oh. What on earth? Oh my! The gentleman is deceased without question. He's dead. Welcome, student, Mr. Naruhodo Esquire. Mr. Simi. Why? Why is this happening? Why to me? I only just got out of court yesterday! I was finally home after 2 days of misery! Then I wake up the next day to this? No way we're to catch a worm like this! Worm without wiggle! I see your high spirits again this morning, Mr. Mustache. Arrgh! Not the horrible Herlock shows! True, give off! Show yourself the door! I never offended you! Mr. Sherman's came here of us. I'm quite sure he'll be able to help you, Mr. Simi. I am entirely at your disposal, Mr. Mustache. What can I do for you? Here they are, already. That busybody. Ah, Inspector Grayson! What a pleasant surprise. Pleasant, isn't it? Is it? gives me heartburn every time I see your face at the crime scene, Sholmes. Ha! I deduce, Inspector, that your heartburn is a result of your excessive consumption of fried food. Good morning, Inspector. This is the crime scene. Don't go touching anything. Or good morning to you too, Sunshine. Oi! I said hands off. You're gonna mess with my crime scene. Oh, no, I just wanted to look, that's all. No chance. I know you're kind. You'll mess up by looking at it. Somebody's in a bad mood. There's certainly a batter in here, isn't there? Haha. Alright. I just think I better talk to the inspector first and try to curry some favor. What a terrible thing to have happened. It's only been 3 days since I was arrested for an incident on the pavement outside. And then, having finally regained my freedom, started happening all over again. Endless assistance officer getting experience! So the victim lived here on the ground floor, and your room is just 1 story up, isn't it? Yes, that's right. In a way, we were neighbors, I suppose. You know the victim? Were you friends? What's the matter with Suzuki-san now? It wasn't innocent of question, was it? Why does it seem so shaken bad? Well, I suppose he wasn't a complete stranger. But he didn't ever invite me to his room. Never! On my honor, I swear it! What an extreme reaction. You're probably wishing you never asked night, aren't you, Mr. Naruhodo? When we found him here, I felt shit. Which is why I sent word asking for you to come. For that inspector over there. So, Inspector, what was the victim seeing? Who was he? Mr. William Shamspeare. Oh. I see what they did. The name would have been William Shakespeare. He was a lodger here. I took my hotel. He was an actor. A bit of a dead loss, as it happens. Or just it. Mr. Shamspeare. It was the landlord, old Mr. Grabdave, and the other lodger, Mr. Sumi, who found him. The fellow didn't rise at his usual hour, so Mr. Grab got worried and kicked the door down. But, doesn't Mr. Grab have a bad leg? Ah, yeah, you're right there. It was that gibbering Japanese hunchback over there who actually did the kicking. Really? Suzuki-san? The victim was pretty hard up, it seems. He even done some time inside for petty crimes. He had no money, no place to go, and no friends. His only acquaintance were the people in his house. Miserable life and a miserable end to it. So, what exactly is Mr. Nasumi doing here? He's not involved in the investigation, so shouldn't you have sent him away from the crime scene? Well, I'm not saying it because the fellow looks odd or anything, or that he acts suspicious. But if I be permitted to take a statement from the culprit, cohabiter, you nearly said culprit there, didn't you? Oh dear. Mr. Nasumi appears to be under suspicions again. It certainly seems that way. He does come across as such a odd fellow, doesn't he? Oh man. I am fortunate. Anyway, I can't say much until the Turner gets here. I don't think the fella's been a goner that long. The body's still warm. Even the inspector will lie. I don't think I could bring myself to touch a dead body. The fact that the cups of poison ran in the weapon. What are you doing, Mr. Sholmes? I swear, almost every time I think I'm going to see Sholmes doing these poses. Like he's trying for something. Mr. Sholmes, what are you doing? Ha! You only deserve to know, my dear fellow. Investigating, naturally. Oh, John, I'm going to say to be we're taking the next JoJo's. There's nothing natural about that pose. Mr. Sholmes, have you made some miraculous discovery? Patience, my dear madame, patience. We have not been here in this room 5 minutes. So far, all I've managed to deduce is what actually happened. My goodness. But isn't that everything we need to know, Mr. Sholmes? I should propose the idea. I believe one could indeed see it that way. At the present time, I managed to draw 2 incontrovertible conclusions. First, is that there was a physical struggle here last night in which the victim fought for his life. Mr. Natsumi, what's wrong? Is something that Mr. Sholmes said significant somehow? No, don't blame me. Forget I was here. And my second conclusion is that there was a poison lingering in the air here last night that passed the victim's lips. Nonsense! Alright, Mr. Natsumi. Why are you reacting so extremely to Mr. Sholmes' deduction? No, please. Pretend I'm not here. Invisible, ineffective, inscrutable, insignificant. Impossible to ignore. You must tell us everything, Mr. Sholmes. Or no detail. But of course, let the theatrical tragedy before us unravel by my great deduction. Presented for you. You pleasantly in 2 acts. We have heard some truly outstanding great deductions from Mr. Sholmes in the past. No doubt there's been no exception. What miracles will unfold before our eyes this time? So, my dear fellows, for your delight and wonder, let the curtain rise. For Sherlock Holmes, Logic and Racing Spectacle, Act 1. The Great Deduction, the game is afoot! Topic 1. Cause of death. Carefully observe the victim reveals to us the events that transpired in the consolate the room last night. Bone with the mouth of the deceased clearly indicates use of poison. Next to the victim, we notice a large dining plate, which contains, you will serve, one half of a largeable bar of soap, meaningful, indubitably. Why is this soap set so purposely up on the dish? Like the victim's last supper, in fact? Yes! Could it be that the man was about to eat it? Of course! Folk reveals the answer. It appears that the young man's appetite was his undoing. Taking up arms in the form of his cutlery, the victim engaged in a deadly battle for his life. Yet the struggle against his hunger was in vain, for in the end he couldn't resist devouring the slippery feast. But London's foul soup is besmirched by foul poison. Yes, the victim's life was claimed by poison that tainted the contents of the plate. Soap and the about the young man's mouth are too perfectly matched to ignore. Cause of death was clearly intoxication due to excessive ingestion of foul soap. Though, personally, I have a greater interest in the taste of foul candle wax. Of course. Poisoning from soup. Yes, soup ingestion. So consider all my soups. Suicide or murder? Good. Case of death identified. We proceed to Act 2, where we plunder the next question. Was this suicide or murder? Audience will recall that death occurs during the victim's last supper. Did the man dine and die alone? The single teacup suggests the answer. To draw the conclusion on such mere evidence would be foolish, however, certainly. Powerful criminal could have absconded with his own cup to cover his tracks. Well, allow me to lift the veil of doubt, my dear fellows. Indeed, we revealed the answer, of course. In the broken lock. Though forced open now at the time of the incident, the door was locked. And the sole key was in the victim's pocket. In other words, when the victim consumes his poison, he must have been alone. Alone with his inferior soup. And from whence waffled an inferior stench. And with that across the aroma lingering in the air, the victim has ended in tragic solitude. We can take comfort only in the facts that his soul was well cleansed on the way to the hereafter. No possible perpetrator present. Thus concludes the fun act of Sherlock Holmes' great deduction. There's just one thing, Mr. Sholmes. You are disposed to identify just one thing, are you, Mr. Naruhodo? Pray, what concerns you? Well, no matter how hungry he was, do you really think... Oh, was soap. Okay. Do you really think the man would have ever eaten soap? It is quite apparent that the man had barely a penny to his name. It is a curious thing, but to what... So this soup can suddenly appear quite irresistibly appetizing. How extraordinary. In truth, I have tried a little soup myself in the past. You've eaten it, you mean? My dear fellow, it was some time ago now. My postulation was that it was... okay. My postulation was that it would cleanse my gut. And did it? I writhed in agony on the floor and spilled the contents of my stomach. Yes, I believe it did. The experience taught me a valuable lesson. Soup is quite poisonous. It has an unappetizing and unpleasant taste and leads to great discomfort. In summary, I cannot recommend it. Believe me, I wouldn't even eat it even if you did. There's something that troubles me as well, actually. Oh, what's that? It's Mr. Natsume. Ah! I couldn't help noticing his shuddering and quivering out of the corner of my eye. Almost as if Mr. Seductions touched the nerve somehow. Nonsense. Well, that clenched teeth episode didn't last. I think, judging Mr. Sumi's reaction, The greater text of the deduction may need a gentle correction in order to reach the actual truth. Yes, Mr. Sholmes' observation and deductions are sometimes a little too sharp. He has a tendency to hit the nail on the side of the head and drives it in at an obtuse angle. When he does that, it falls on us to straighten things out. Alright then, let's see what we can do. Yes, we must pick out the key word to Mr. Sholmes' quite brilliant deduction. And discreetly exchange them for something that makes a little bit more sense. Do that. I'm sure we arrive at what I'm sure we'll arrive at what Mr. Sholmes meant to say in the first place. In that case, are you ready for the second performance of the day? Once again, my dear fellows, for your continued delight and wonder, let the curtain rise. For Sherlock Sholmes' Logic and Reasoning Spectacle, Act 1. Post correction. Hold it, Mr. Sholmes. I've been going cause of that poison from soup injection? Carefully observation of the victim reveals to us the events that transpired in this disconsolate room last night. Phone from about this of the deceased clearly indicates use of poison. Next to the victim, we notice a large dining plate which contains, you will serve, one half of a sizable bar of soap, meanable indubitably. Why is this soap set so purpose? Upon this, like the victim's last supper, in fact, yes. Could it be that the man was about to eat it? Of course, the fork reveals the answer. Well, you can't deny that a fork implies the man was eating something. Or about to eat something. Yes, that's true. If I was to decide to eat some soap, I should prefer to use a fork rather than attempt to eat it with chopsticks. And of course, only half of a bar of soap is left on the plate. But might there be some other explanation? Something material that proves whether or not the man really ate some soap? Look! There's more soap on the floor here! Mr. Shamser must have left this stuff. Let's not jump to conclusions, Mr. Naruto. Look closely at the soap. Do you see that? That it would fit perfectly together with the other half bar on the table? How could it be? I think there are two halves of the same bar that broke apart. Do you think he was drinking tea with his soap? The cup is empty, so there's no way of knowing. Ah! How's this for an idea? Perhaps the cup was full of water. And he was dissolving soap in it so he could gulp it down as much down as possible. Please remember that he's not may have actually have been the soap lover that he was made out to be. Oh, it's the only option.
Take that!
And yep. Could it be that the man was about to eat it? Of course. The other piece of the soap reveals the answer. The it being the other half of the soap on the table. In short, the victim was not eating soap at all. But it's obvious, really. For no death 100 could drive a man to attempt to eat soap. Even I, with my unquenchable thirst for practical knowledge, took only a single bite. But that begs the question on how the man was poisoned, because there's no sign of any food on the table. An excellent observation, Mr. Naruto. One that furnishes us with the answer we seek. But London's foul soap is immersed by foul poison. Yes, the victim's life was claimed by poison, tainted by the contents of the plate. Mr. Sholmes is still pushing the soap argument then. Perhaps he suggests the man lick the soap rather than ate it? If soup in London is that poisonous, I don't think I want to be washing my hands of it. There's no sign of food on any food in this room at all. Of course, food isn't the only thing that passes through people's lips, is it? Yes, a Western vessel for servicing infusion and dried tea leaves. It's a teacup, Mr. Naruhodo. As you well know, stop putting it on ours. And it's empty. Ah, we've already established that the victim wasn't eating soap when he died. However, there's significant evidence to suggest that he was drinking tea. My thoughts exactly.
Take that!
Oh, it's the first one, so it's a lot easier to work with this one. Yes, the victim himself was cleaned by poison by the hint at the teacup. Indeed, cups have been the vessel of choice for practicing poisoneers over the century. And it would appear that the victims drank every last drop. There's no sign of food anywhere in the room, which leads us to the immeasurable conclusion. The cause of death was clearly intoxication due to the ingestion of poison contained in this teacup. Death, poison in the tea. Solved. Suicide or murder, no possible perjury present. Cause of death identified. We proceed to Act 2, where we plunder the next question. Was this suicide or murder? Audience will recall that death occurred during the victim's last supper. The man down alone? A single teacup suggests the answer. Ah, the Western vessel from using hot drinks again. It's already featured heavily in our discussion so far. Yes, we can imagine that shortly before his death, Mr. Shamshir was having a drink of tea. There would be nothing remarkable about that, but what troubles me is Mr. Sumi's reaction when he heard Mr. Sholmes suggest more to this induction than it seems. We must closely examine the crime scene again for more clues. It's another Western vessel. Also firm fused. It's a teacup! And it too is empty. Given that he's actually holding this one in his hand, we can assume that this is the cup from which Mr. Chancellor was actually drinking. But if that's the case, this changes everything. Everything we deduced up to now is turned on its head. I have a bad feeling about this. I almost want to say it. Yes, I know exactly how you feel.
Take that!
We have to. This man dining alone, this other teacup suggests the answer. Yes, there were 2 teacups in this room all along. Ah! In other words, there's a strong indication that the victim's last supper, there was a guest present. At the very least, we can say now with certainty that someone else was here in this room last night, taking tea with the victim. What are you talking about? Utterly unbelievable, unjustified, unreasonable. To draw a conclusion on such mere evidence would be foolish, however, certainly. In this case, what more can we deduce about this possible guest at the table? Well, allow me to lift the veil of doubt, my dear fellow. Do you mean to say you know exactly what is in... Well, you know exactly... Sorry, do you know who was exactly in this room at the time of the victim's death? Indeed. You received the answer, of course. and it's the broken lock. I'm not sure I like where this seduction is going now. I'm afraid it's too late to go back on the high days of eating too much soap. But the identity of the guests who cheered last night when the victim passed away is something I have a very bad feeling about. Well, you can try to ignore your feelings, but we can't ignore the truth, Mr. Naruto. No, I suppose not. Time to look around again. It's empty. Empty of liquids, but full of air. That makes you think, doesn't it? It makes me think that you're full of hot air. We should be thinking on who else was in the room at the time. Otter, Mr. Sano's quick response was cleverer than my original riddle. First glance, it seems the only things in this room that are able to make shift stage and costumes. I overlooked these 3 books entirely. I wonder what they are. Let's see. The title reads The Picture of the Masseuse Liqueur, Canterbury Yearnings, and A Meal for the Gabberor. Wait. Sure, I've heard those titles before. Could be just an incredible coincidence, but they're the exact same 3 books that Mr. Snow purchased the other day. What? Yes, on the day of the unfortunate incident when Mr. Green when Miss Green was stabbed. Soki-san had just been to the bookshop and bought them. That's right. And now those 3 titles are here in the room with the victim. You misunderstood me claims he'd never been here before. What? What does this mean? You think? I really don't know what to make of it. Even Mr. Champ here doesn't eat candles, it seems. We've already established that he didn't eat soap either! Ah. You think perhaps the guest brought this candle here last night? Even if he or she did, does it reveal anything about the guest's identity? Good point. That was my idea. Snuff out like that candle would be. Besides the deepening, Miss Naruto, you're in danger of blowing out the flame.
Take that!
Indeed, what reveals the answer, of course, is the pile of familiar books. Quite so. It's no mere coincidence that these 3 titles are here in the room. It's the link to the truth. Ah! Mr. Simi, you purchased these books 4 days ago at the second-hand bookshop. That's just coincidence. In that case, you will be able to bring the same 3 titles from your own room, would you not? This very moment. No! Never! None! Negotiable! If you can't bring your own copies here, it proves that these books are in fact yours. Having purchased the books 4 days ago and returned to your lodging, you were arrested the very next day. So you could conceivably have brought the books here on that evening, but you never mentioned that. In other words, you could only brought these 3 books here to the victim's room. Last night, having returned to your lodging after the trial concluded at the Obeli. In short, there's only one possible conclusion. The victim died here in this room last night as a result of poisoning. And that same night, the victim had a visitor. And the visitor Was you, Mr. Suzuki Nasumi? Thus concludes the final act of Sherlock Holmes' Great Seduction. Suzuki Nasumi at the scene. Solved! Deduction complete. Elementary! Not again! Not again! Not again! Not again! Well then, Mr. Nasumi. It would appear that you're going to have to accompany me down to the yard. Again. But wait! Hold your horses! Yes. Door, key, locked, entry, exit, entirely impossible! He's so flushed that he's even stranger than normal. What? You think that's an alibi? You could have just made a copy. What? You live in the same building after all. You have plenty of opportunities, I'm sure. But... Misery me! Sorry, sir. You'll get your chance to give your side of the story later. Back speaks for himself, Mr. Moustache. Horrible Herlock Sholmes! He really found himself an arch rival now, hasn't he? Come on now, no diddle-dally. Outside, there's a carriage waiting. Looking... I'm soon missing our hurdle, Squire. I never imagined I'd be in this position again, but... You have to help me! Please, please! I'm innocent! Alright, I understand. We'll come to your cell later and talk about it. And one more thing. Oh, yes? My poor little kitty cat. Please give him his breakfast for me. Oh, I'll explain how we got the cat. So, his evil curse still apparently unbroken. Suzuki-san found himself once again the prime suspect of in a case of murder. Thanks to the incriminating deduction of the great detective. My dear fellow, that honor belongs to you. Well, at least that means Inspector Grayson is no longer here. We can examine the crime scene in more detail now. Yes, that's right. And of course, what? We've forgotten what the inspector mentioned before. Isn't it older Mr. Garb who discovered Mr. Shakespeare? Ah, Mr. John Garb, yes. I expect we could find him in his sitting room on the top floor as usual. Right. We must remember to go talk to him later then. And here we have another disproportionately large machine. This looks like a meter of some kind. Ah, that's a gas meter. That's a gas meter, I think. It seems that in the streets, residents pay for gas as they use it with coins. Ah, I see. Yes, now you pointed it out. I can see there's a slot here. Just looks like we take a coin. So you mean if you put a coin here? That's right. That would buy you about 2 hours of gas for lights and heating. So, if you're a poor person with no money, you have to sleep in the freezing cold. Yes. Or you're a scatterbrain with no change because you forgot to exchange your money at the bank. Thank goodness there's no meter in our office. As seen from the outside, the window is completely bricked up. Prestige that the former one of the tax that Britons had to pay. What strange things they used to tax in Great Britain. I mean, making people pay for the number of windows they had in a property. It's extraordinary. It's extraordinary. It's heartbreaking to think of the poor having to block up their windows just to avoid the unaffordable tax. Oh, what is it, Mr. Sano? If you look closely, a number of bricks is loose. Or bricks are loose. Oh, yes. It looks as though an amateur has broken out a few of those just here. Mr. Shakespeare did it? I wonder. Being a lodger renting this room? Ah! Look at this, Mr. Naruto. On the outside, there's a little ledge. And there's something on it. What? Outside? It's so cold outside. You can feel it through this gap. It did snow last night. It would be cold. But more importantly, what is it on the ledge here? What are these snow-covered lumps? It's more bars of soap. Soap? What are bars of soap doing lined up on the edge outside a window? The window. I have no idea. But the part of them look rather charming like that. Still, that's very strange, isn't it? Bars of soap lined up outside the window. I think perhaps we should take one. There are two after all. Oh dear. Aye. Those are good. Oh! What's this? Look here at the soap. Ah! You see? In the middle there? There's a patch that's a different color. It's sort of transparent, but some sort of fancy design, I suppose. Only in Great Britain. It looks like the Hanoi flag of Japan, doesn't it? How wonderful. It's probably a very expensive brand. Expensive? What's it doing here in this ramshackle old room? And the bar of soap is not their record records. Oh, the poor man. So young to die. Do you suppose it was a very painful death, being poisoned as he was? I don't know. All we can do now is hope that he'll be born to a better life. Yes, I suppose you're right. I wonder. Do you think that putting our hands together in a Japanese prayer will help a British soul? Alright? I made sure I had the reference at the ready for such an occasion of this, actually. This book is entitled The Beginner's Guide to Praying for the Departed, the British Way. I'll just reread now. One moment. There's quite a span in that book, isn't there? Hmm? What's this? Looks like part of an envelope, I think. Yes, I think you may be right. Perhaps it was torn off when the letter opened. Is that significant? Well, it's a little out of place, perhaps, when you look around the room. No sign of a letter, or the rest of the envelope. In fact, is there? Ah, she's right. And yet, we have a torn off end of an envelope. It just strikes me as unusual. I agree. Better take this, just in case. Alright. There's not much in these shells, is there? Just this wine glass and a bottle. Both of them are cracked. Yes, not much uses, are they? What's the matter? Oh, I was just reminded of the Reaper, that's all. Prosecutor Laurent Seek. Yes, he's so reckless with his wine glasses. I was thinking it was a waste and that he should donate some of them to the needy. You can suggest it next time we meet. Look at these. Look at that extravagant, bright costumes. Somehow they look out of place in this room, with its grime shitty goings on. This one looks like a king's attire. A king? I've always dreamt of being a king. Oh, I think you... I was shouting over there. Well, I think you'll be more suited for a feudal lord, a daimyo or such like. Oh, chromie, she's topping up. Every Japanese man wishes he had a chromie. Oh, you look wonderful with one! And you've already have the sword. You might well have if I walked around the streets alone with a chromie and a sword. This is a gas wall light, isn't it? It must be connected to the gas pipes in the wall. Gas lights, a gas stove. London really is a city of gas. But now that I think about it, Mr. and Mrs. Scarab had open fire on the top floor, didn't they? Oh yes, you're right. I recall seeing a gas stove up there. Well, I must prefer a real fire anyway. It's much more cozier. This is some sort of makeshift stage, I think, isn't it? Where does the audience sit, though? From the nightly Shakespeare performance. Actors at spring to the great stage must practice their art, Mr. Naruto, with or without an audience. In fact, on a related note, perhaps you should set up a mock bench for the events in your office. What? Then you can practice your art every single day. I'll think about it. You promised to don a beard and play the role of a judge. Well, if that would help you achieve your goal. This I have to see. We have the second. We already have that already. Yorn booked 17th February, 4:45 AM. Consumer misunderstood me. The sum of 2 shillings tendered to the receipt of a picture of Monsieur de Croix, a meal for Gaborum, and Canterbury yearnings. And we have the street map again. Lovely. This part is a different color. That's the switch to the sign, isn't it? Trust the British to turn a boring bar of soap into something special. I quite like it. It reminds me of a Honomaru design of the Japanese flag. I expect this to be rather expensive soap. That doesn't seem likely, given who it belongs to. But all for the soap, that is all for the soap. Whoever opened this envelope didn't bother with the letter opener scissors, did they? Yes, whoever opened it was clearly someone with an unrefined temperament. And judging from the angle of the rip here, the person in question must have been right-handed. Mr. Sano, I think perhaps someone's been reading too much of the Adventures of Herlock Sholmes. You can never read too much of it, Mr. Naruto. Never! Right. I'm right in thinking that these skills are a symbol of the defense of law, aren't they? They're supposed to symbolize treating everything equally, not fairly. That's why they always line in the middle. Balance. Equal measurement on both sides. Recently though, whenever I see a set of skills, I can only think of the enormous skills of justice. That's entirely understandable. They are such powerful symbols in the courtroom, aren't they? And the thing about the skills of justice is, they're always leaning one way or the other. They're only ever in balance right at the start. It must be something particular to the British. I'm afraid I can't shine a light in it, Mr. Naruto. So the fact embroidery here showing the name of the armband's owner. In this case, Hasama Asogi. I'm always carrying my best friend's hopes and dreams with me on my right arm, just here, all the time. To be honest, it's something that weighs very heavily on me. Oh, I didn't realize it was such a burden, Mr. Naruto. Yes, I think it's why my right arm aches so much. Are you sure that has something you reading in bed or the likes? I think we did everything here. Yes. Wow, we have a lot of new locations. Briar Road, Garage Room, and Prison. Let's check here. Nothing. Oh, we've been coming to... Eee! A mouse, Mr. Naruto! An enormous mouse! Herman in the hospital? That doesn't seem the best. Looks like a very healthy specimen, doesn't it? It's very plump. I'm not sure we can say that is to the excellence of the facility. That's what you were thinking. Oh, that was really all. Let's go here. No, 22nd February, Mr. Grab this room. Here we go again. The eccentric landlord to eccentric top floor road. We're here because Mr. Garab's the one who discovered the incident this morning. Don't forget. Ah, you chaps, eh? Yes, good morning, sir. Thank you for your cooperation in court yesterday. It was quite a trial. As much for Mr. Garab as anyone, really. I'm sure back here after all the business at the bail yesterday. Didn't expect to wake up to more bally nonsense in this morning. I wonder if you wouldn't mind telling us exactly what happened, Mr. Garab did? Yes. I suppose you would like to know all about the death loss of an actor chap on the ground floor room. Those were exactly Inspector Grayson's words, weren't they? Okay. It must have been a real shocker for you this morning. I hear you discover what happened. Ah, well, that hopeless actor chap rises at 5 o'clock sharp every morning without fail. But at 5:30 this morning, he still hadn't lit the gas. So I went there and knocked on his door, and no bodily answer. And that's when you broke into his room by kicking down the door. Well, I called on that rum-looking Japanese chap to do the grunt worker course. Wasn't it a little premature to kick the door down? The man could have overslept by half an hour. As far as true, Mr. Naruto, if 30 minutes overslept warrants such behavior, I have to kick your door down every morning. Well, you know, better to be safe than sorry and all that. Excuse me. Or is he voicing our gaze now all of a sudden? Except that it was a sorry situation indeed that you found on the far side of the door. The victim's name is Mr. Shakespeare, I believe. Is that right? Is that right? Oh, I get more. Yes, William Shakespeare. Took the ground floor room 3 months ago now. And? How do you describe him? In a word? Desolate. Desolate? Desolate? Well, let's face it. The only redeeming feature of that room is the cheap rent. Anyone who live in a place like that is either broke or have or badly screwed loose. So hard to choose which category Suzuki's have fall into. Mr. Naruto, that's a little rude. He was doing research as well. Research? Into one. Shakespeare, of course. Shakespeare. With a few plays of the old bard himself, you know. Romeo and Hamlet and all that. Yes, William Shakespeare is England's most highly regarded classical playwright and author. He's known as Shao in Japan, as you know, and many of his works have already been translated. It seems incredible that Shakespeare was shortened to Shao, though. Someone was too heavy-handed there. There were a lot of costumes in the fictional streams, actually, weren't there? Of course, Mr. Sumi was a scholar of English literature as well. He imagined that Mr. Shakespeare would have had much in common. Shakespeare's interpreted disagreement leads to shocking murder. Let's hope it's not that. It's not a hurdle. Really? How rude. After Mr. Sumi's trial yesterday, you came straight back here, I believe, didn't you? Did you notice anything strange between then and this morning? Well, now. Must have been about 6 in the evening by the time I got home. Snow was coming down rather heavily, as I remembered, and was completely dark already. That field octochap was out at the time. Does the crab know? There were no lights from his room or something, I suppose. Getting some of the energy for anything much. He was just sat in front of the fire up here. It was after 8 before Shakespeare got back. And the chap was up until 1 in the morning, I have you know. Suppose he's met some time sometime after that. I was asleep by then, so I ran in the dark there. Well, thank you. That was very illuminating. Is everything alright, Mrs. Sano? Well, I was just thinking... It's a little strange, that's all. Listen, girl. You were up here in your room all evening, if I understood correctly. Not a big fan of stairs. Not with this blasted leg. Then... How is it you seem to know precise movement of your tenants on the ground floor, I mean? That's a very good point. I can't imagine that you could have heard the noise from the ground floor all the way up here. Doesn't man like to spy on his tenants? Is that it? I say! I know what you're thinking, and it's a bally outrage. I'm ex-military, then you know. I don't go around spying on my tenants. Why would I? Then how do you know, Mr. Gra- It's the Goss woman. The Goss tells me everything. The Goss? What on earth do you mean, sir? How can you tell God? How can a Goss tell you everything? Let alone everything. Anything, let alone everything. Well, as you're probably aware, the gas is supplied to the building by pipes. Yes, I more or less worked that out. Every room in the building is connected by a single pipe to the gas main outside. And the gas company supplies gas to the properties via the main. Yes, I understand that too. Let me see if I can explain. Let's say I was to light a gas lamp up here. What would you suppose would happen? Well, obviously, the room would get brighter. Exactly. But at the same time, the lights in all the lights in all the other rooms of the house would dim for a moment. What? It did? Why? Perhaps it's because when you light a gas lamp, it briefly uses more gas than usual. And that reduces the amount of gas in the pipes for the other lamps that are connected to it. That might explain why the other lamps dim momentarily, mightn't it? Yes, of course. Because everything's connected to a single supply pipe. Is that supposed to happen though? It sounds rather undesirable. Jolly good point. Fact is, the gas company's pipes in these parts are pretty hopeless, long worn out. And I barely got any gas in to start with. Opposite is also true, of course. Extinguish the lamps up here, and they glow brighter in the rest of the house. Ah, right, I see. So by watching the flickering of the lamps in one room, you can determine what's happening elsewhere. You got it. You've got it. Oh, of course. Because when people come back home in the evening, before they go to sleep at night, what they're guaranteed to do is either light or put out their lamps of fires. Clever. In point of fact, the room on the ground and the one above it uses slightly different amounts of gas. By watching the lights here closely, I can work out almost exactly what's going on in the whole house. Gosh, that's fascinating, Mr. Grab. Absolutely fascinating. Oh well, nothing to it really. And I can't really see that it's going to help us with the case either. What I'd like to know is why Mr. Grab is so interested in what his tenants are up to in the first place. I feel like it's more good than idle curiosity. Mr. Grab, could I show you this? Been quite a couple of days, as you can imagine. I'm afraid I'm rather tired. Haven't really got the energy in the old eyeballs, to be honest with you. Some other time then. Okay. We know what the screen's hiding now. The aftermath of a fiery altercation the other day. Don't suppose I'll be able to clear that mess up for some time now. Oh dear. This must be a very difficult situation for you. I'll say. People talk about twists of fate and whatnot. But this is a twist and a half. I'll run the show all around. He's clearly struggling with everything that's happened. Good to see Mr. Garrett's Medal of Honor so proudly displayed on the wall. The inscription reads, "For distinguished and participation," if you remember. Yes, I remember. Because I remember thinking even I might stand a chance of picking up honors like that. Wouldn't know it to look at me perhaps. But I had my think that will make her days, you know. That will make her? What did you get up to? Well, all in the past now, of course. Best left there. Oh, best not. I want to know now. Ah, yes, these enormous mortar shells. It's quite something seeing them up close, isn't it? Didn't you say something about firing them into the barracks, Mr. Grab? Ah, you remember, do you? Just little mishaps that occurred during training one day. What are you doing firing them on your own men? The captain bellowed me. I'm not surprised. A little mishaps doesn't really do it justice, does it? Well, One of these little incidents means when one's a hothead young private. Perhaps I should put some evidence that resulted from one of my little mishaps on display. Oh, does a great lawyer like the great detective want to establish some trophies of his finest moments? No. Let's go to Briar Road. And 1st of February, Briar Road. There's more soap! With the exception of the top floor, Mr. Garrett, all windows are bricked up. Yes, that's because of the old window tax that was charged on the number of windows the property had. In order to pay the taxes, the poor members of society filled in many of their windows. But the tax has since been abolished, hasn't it? The windows could be opened up again, surely. Unfortunately, it would appear that the residents of this district can't afford to pay to have the work done. Yes, that's the sad state of affairs. Especially for people like Burn Mr. Nasimi, who had to lift up all cooked up in windows in the room. I suppose that's the price you pay for living in a very cheap accommodation. It all seems rather pointless when you put it like that. That was not what I want. There's soap! There! There's soap! Oh. What if someone built a snowman on some sort of pedestal, do you think? That's not a pedestal, Mr. Home. It's part of someone's body. Really? But it already has a perfect body. Well, it's true that British snowmen are usually made of 2 balls of snow. Perhaps this is a foreigner. But we're looking at him. But now we're looking at him as he's strange. Poor man, I know how he feels. If anything, it's Japanese and British 2-ball snowman. That's the strange one, isn't it? After all, real people do have 3 sections: head, torso, and legs. Do you ever think that perhaps you think about things too much? There always seems to be a bicycle at Mr. Garrett's residence. I read that bicycles are extremely popular all over Great Britain at the moment, in fact. That one seems rather warped though, especially the front wheel. Is that to make it more of a challenge to ride, do you think? No, I'm afraid that may be the result of the rider's incompetence. For the front wheel to be so badly warped, I'm afraid the rider may have been similarly affected. Then, there's a good chance Mr. Simi had been practicing on the bicycle, I think. Oh dear. Here may be wrecked. Alright. Okay. There's an new airburn drying on that enormous cannon-shaped clove horse there. No, Mr. Naruto. That's a real cannon. I knew not. I was just testing you. Piece of history, that is. Seen plenty of action on Battlefield, I can tell you. Nadia and I are just as joining the peace and quiet retirement together. And of course, she comes in handy if the enemy decides to launch an attack again. Is there a war going on that I don't know about? Oh, a copy around this magazine. Adventures of Sherlock Holmes is being read all over London. Isn't it wonderful? Naturally, one asks oneself if it's such a singular detective who really exists. But having met the chap, it's undeniable. He is most certainly singular. Singularly dangerous. That's genuine public opinion for you, Mrs. Hano. Perhaps it should be reflected in the stories. Make no mistake, Mr. Haru. I intend to snuff out the sort of public opinion we just heard personally. I'm starting to see where Mr. Holmes' untainted reputation comes from now. That's your military uniform, isn't it, Mary Captain? Well, some regards, yes. Been hanging on the wall ever since my retirement bash. Not in service now, you know. Doesn't mean much to me anymore. You could have the old thing if you wanted it. Well, it might suit Lord Van Cease, perhaps. And overly standardishly outfit like that could be just what he needs. Very tactful, Mrs. Hano. Very tactful indeed. You look very dashing in uniform there, Mr. Gav. Ah, that overheard it. John an art student who used to rent the room downstairs. Oh, you look wonderful. Well, young and courageous and strong. Yes, well, the chap presented to me one day and asked if I let him off the month's rent in return. Oh, I see. So, you did, presumably. I bally well did not. Oh. A portrait is a portrait, but rent is rent, eh? And yet, it's still proudly on the wall. That's an impressive collection of cakes on that fancy silver stand cake stand there. I feel sure that it was full of cakes when we first investigated here as well. Yes, quite right. I haven't touched it since. Haven't done much of at all recently. Since it all happened, time rather stood still for me, you know. Oh. Time has stood still. Now that's an interesting phrase. I might have been able to use that excuse when I'm next supposed to be tidying the office. You could just tidy up in just an hour, Hordo. It's on to us. These shells look like they've been completely torn apart by a wild beast. Reminds me of the old... Reminds me of the Battle of Malawan, didn't you know? Don't you know? Ah, the experience of a seasoned veteran. Enemy has surrounded on all sides. We really thought we were done for. The whole Bally Company. We were taking a real pounding from their cannons, so all we could do is run for our lives. Oh. I thought that story was going a different direction, actually. Well, the whole experience taught me one thing. I can tell you. When you're done for, you're really done for. That's not what a lawyer who often finds himself under fire wants to hear. There's a good view of the wind. Yeah, there's a good view over the wintry East End from up here before. It is oppressively great scene. It's an oppressively great scene. There's really nothing comparable on Japan. And down below, Briar Road. Partly blanketed in snow. And the report from a scream was struck in the back by that knife. Thinking about it, this is the only room in this building that actually has a window to the outside world. Sometimes, Britain really does seem like a strange land, doesn't it? I suppose all foreign cultures seem strange at first. Imagine how an Englishman would feel on being in Japan and seeing people with a chrome top knot. Well, that's a good point. Have we did everything here? It looks like it's a yes. We can't do anything here. We can reset these two, which means nothing. I did. He's gonna work. Our remaining stuff. Nope. What else is... What are the options to go back with Iris and stuff? Okay. London's blanketed in fog again, and the sky is covered in clouds. With a clarifying distance, you can just make out the crystal tower being built. Ah, the crystal tower, yes. The centerpiece of the great exhibit that opens in 6 months' time. Everyone's talking about the great exposition of London at the moment, it seems. Well, it's to be the largest event of its kind anywhere in the world. With technology and science all over from all over. Okay. I can't wait for it myself. You think visiting students from the Far East like us will be granted entry? The last great exhibition that would held in London had more than 6 million visitors, it seems. And this time, the British are determined to make it an even bigger zest to outdo the Paris exposition. I see. That's an incredible number of people. And with so many people expected to attend, we should easily be able to slip in unnoticed. There's always an odds of buying tickets at the main entrance in our hotel. Where is he? Oh, to go back here. Remember to my right shoulder is sweet. Iris is typing. Iris. That's incredibly that's incredible concentration. That is. I find it quite remarkable how she can focus on so many different things at once. Perhaps I try drinking more of her herbal tea. The bland far from the right would do good for you, Bruno. Oh, Iris. That girl is destined for great things, I'm sure. This charming little white shelf. It's full of charming little bottles too. Oh yes, but don't touch any of those. They may explode. Ah, a charming shelf of full charming bottles full of charming ingredients. You know, you mistakenly drank from one of them the other day. What? Hi! I think it was lucky though. He hasn't exploded yet. Chemistry can be a very hazardous occupation. It's living with assumes that's the hazardous occupation, if you ask me. Alright, so machine takes up an entire disk. An entire desk doesn't. It's really very important. Ah, here is great and scope. Yes! It can honestly anything at all, you know. But I've never seen anyone actually use it. Well, it's his invention, so I don't know how to operate it. Why don't you get it to analyze its own operations then? Oh, Bruno, you're rich sharp today, aren't you? There are all sorts of these shelves, chemistry apparatus, books, papers, and lots of things I've never seen before. It's all heaped up so high, I can't help feeling that the whole thing is going to topple at any moment. It looks as though it might topple, and yet it doesn't. Epitome of Mr. Jones's brilliance. I don't get it. As it happens, I'm quite well practiced when it comes to stacking shelves myself. Just the other day, the shelves in my office finally gave way under the strain though. It looks as though it might topple, and it does, yes. Yeah, Tom, move your astray. I really don't get it. That's Mr. Jones' famous violin. The one he found being sold for a song at a brokery. What was it called again? The Surely something? Oh yes, this wonderful entrance features in the Adventure of Sherlock Holmes. It's a world famous surface. What? Stradivarius, Mr. Naruhodo. Stradivarius. Are you even trying now? We'll come back to that this another time, I think. It's curious how this Miss Mel's chest is being used as a coffee table. And even more curious to think that Irish's father's notes about Mr. Jones' kiss are inside it. You must not know, Bruno. Those notes are a secret between Daddy and me. And Mr. Jones isn't somehow on the scene on the secret. He tends to forget, you see. As least he solves the kiss, in fact. Once when he reads one of my manuscripts, we had a terrible argument about it. Never had I solved such a kiss, he said. It was absolutely adamant. Sometimes I wonder if he's from another planet, don't you? Look at all these mementos of Mr. Shrooms' past kiss. You know, Mr. Shrooms' Susanna's eye still sparkles every time she lays eyes on them. But yours don't, do they, Bruno? Well, I have read The Adventures of Sherlock Holmes by order of Mr. Sano. But the trouble is, having seen the real thing in action, somehow the stories don't quite ring true to them for me. Well, he does solve the kiss, in the end. I suppose so. Perhaps there's more to the great detective than meets the eye. I do like this fireplace. It's one of the best things I've seen since we arrived in this country, in fact. Although, I do yearn for a Japanese kutatsu. Putting your legs under a warm blanketed table is so comforting. Do be careful, Mr. Naruhodo. Don't mistakenly put your feet into the fire, will you? You'll suffer terrible burns, you know. I worry sometimes about how Mr. Sano sees me. Oh, we've done everything here. We've done everything. Oh, we've got this. Ah, yes. This is where you're doing the dishes, isn't it, Iris? So, what's at the blackboard today? Buck up, Bruno. Buck up, Bruno. What is this? Oh, I'm just playing around with ideas for the title of the next month's installment. Another idea I had was the Berry Coronet. I'm really torn about which one to use. What do you think, Bruno? Anything but buck up, Bruno, obviously. I suppose you're right. I'll tell you what. I'll surprise you with it. You'll have to wait until next month and see. So my sleepless nights. It always strikes me how pretty and neatly arranged this tea set is. It's my favorite one, in fact. I think it's high time for tea. Afternoon tea. But there, I'll fetch a special blend that I prepared for today. Oh, Iris, you do love your tea, don't you? She looks so happy at the prospect. After you have drunk it, I'll collect some experiment data, if that's alright. Just what is she about to make me drink? Oh. Okay. Um. What am I about to do? I'm gonna go back check the prison. The only option is the bed. Just look at the patient's treatment notes. Here, do not feed. What is this about? Let's see. No! I seem to remember seeing an almost identical sign in our local park. For the pigeons, yes, this is the person. Poor woman. I hope she hasn't read this. I'm just here because there may be more stuff we need to check. Leaves no stone unturned. Oh. Looks like this. This looks like the treatment notes for Harrow occupies it. Let's see. You're not permitted to run around the hospital. The patient doesn't seem to be here at the moment, so he or she's probably running around the hospital now. Oh dear. Hi, wondering. Hi, worrying. What's worrying is why they haven't discharged the patient yet. There's also the medicines in this cabin. Look, I'm not sure if safe to leave them in the safe. Yeah, I'm not sure if safe leaving them in reach of everyone like this. Yes, you're right. I can imagine if you were packaged, you might try a whole bottle or two. Well, at least there seems to be a little lock to secure the cabin doors. I don't imagine that would stop if you were hungry. I worry that you'd break the lock. Hunger doesn't turn me into a criminal, you know, Mr. Sano. I'm not gonna. Hmm. Let's go. Oh, yeah, I can. Okay. We haven't summoned the cup somehow? Ah, when the kids Mr. Chancellor and guest strength last night. But don't go drinking from it, damn, Mr. Naruto. There's better poison inside. I'm not planning on drinking any, don't worry. Anyway, the cups are both empty. That's true. So, one was Mr. Chancellor's, and the other must have been the cup that Mr. Simi was drinking from. Mr. Susan wasn't poisoned, of course. Perhaps we should take these so we can sound them more details later. Okay. Looks like you're having a good snoop around, eh? Grayson! Inspector Grayson! Back so soon? After I've heard a little Japanese spelling of clink, I went to report this to the investigation division. In 5 minutes' time, this was cordoned off by the yard. Oh, I see. Well, we better be leaving then. Poor Mr. Musumi must be feeling low, being back in the cell again so soon. Well, we better go, he's... What's wrong, Mr. Naruto? Ah! Out, brief candle. Life but a walking shadow. A poor player. The strut and fret his hour upon the stage, and then is heard no more. Now, how soundeth the next spot? It is a tale told by an idiot. All sound and fury, nothing more. Indeed! Oh, happy day! What? Walking Dead? The fella isn't dead at all. What was that nonsense he was saying, though? I think, yes. It was from William Shakespeare's Macbeth. A solo liqueur from Act 5, Scene 5. Shakespeare. So it was that the victim, Mr. William Shakespeare, came back to life. If the man had deep in poison, It transpired that it hadn't killed him. He was taken by emergency carriage to the nearby hospital for treatment. And Inspector Grayson infected us from the scene of the crime. Whatever that was now. Yo! Fire room. Whatever do you think will happen now? Good questioning. What a strange situation was that to me. Arrested for murder, but the victim came back to life. I think perhaps the victim was never dead in the first place. It seemed very likely that Mr. Shakespeare did consume poison as we deduce. But it was an accident, attempted suicide, or attempted murder. Until the truth can be established, I imagine the police will keep Mr. Simi in custody. I suppose so. Let's hope it doesn't come to anything a night in the cell. Oh, who's that? This? What's that man doing over there? It looks like he's trying to see him in the Mr. Suki's line thing. Is something wrong, Miss Naruto? Excuse me, can we have a word? Ah! He just ran off, and he just opposes. I feel sure I've seen that man before. Where was it? I do too, but I don't remember. Well, with as much investigation as we can, I think. Perhaps we ought to go to the prison and speak to Mr. Sumi again. A good idea. Hey, it's cracked! This is the teacup from which Mr. Sumi was drinking. Yes, unlike the other one, the inside of the cups is completely clean. I suppose he must have drunk the contents before the tea had a chance to leave them more. I always gulp it down too. Sorry, Mr. Naruto. Well, if you just sip it little by little, it goes cold. Certainly. I'll have to instruct you in the proper way of taking the thick tea. I got updated. This must be the cup that Mr. Shakespeare is drinking from then. It's stained on the inside. Tea does that, I'm afraid. Even green tea. Oh, really? I've never noticed before. You never noticed? Well, I never leave in the cup long enough to leave a mark. I like the cup down. Drink tea while it's hot. That's the Japanese way, isn't it? Oh dear. So many people seem to have the wrong idea about our culture. And most of them are Japanese. Hey, one's green, one's purple. We'll go for 10 more. 21st of February. Local prison cell 9. Look, Mr. Naruto. Mr. Simi, has the police finished questioning you now? Locum student, Mr. Naruto Squire. Oh, yes. Where is he? Tell me. Is he a ghost? Is he here to help me? Let me guess. You're talking about Mr. Sholmes? He's actually calling himself a great detective, Mr. Simi, not a ghost. But this diabolical deduction. They're not of this world. They've left me. Ah, curse! I'm cursed to tell you! Well, that sort of hurts. Credit where credit's due, Mr. Naruto. You were heavily involved in this abduction too. Yes, moving on. We had some wonderful news. Oh? The victim that we all thought was dead has come back to life again. Now, in the absolute worst case, you could only be trialed for attempted murder. That's great, isn't it, Mr. Nazarian? It's terrible! Oh. I'm stuck dead in a cell, suffering for some silly wrong end of the stick. You did it, didn't you? Confess, you're a killer. Why the mustache? Constant questions! I'm sorry to hear that. Urk, that selfish shyster! Make up your mind! Are you dead or alive? If you were going to come back to life, why bother dying? Really wishy-washy William! Well, it seems likely that Mr. Shakespeare was never actually dead in the first place. Yes, that might make sense. And I am pleased that he's alive, of course. Our lively debate last night was so much fun. I'd be sad to think it was our last. Oh! Oops! Mr. Natsumi, does this mean that you did see the victim last night? You met with Mr. Chancellor, didn't you? I'm not saying another word! I demand to have a lawyer present! Who do you think I am? Please, Mr. Sumi, we need to hear your side of the story. Why am I cursed like this? Mr. Natsumi, it's not been much, but... It's been too long since I've been offered a present with that delightful, humble element of our homeland. What? You're too kind. I accept it gladly. Sorry, but I was trying to give it to you, actually. I've shown you some form, Mr. Natsumi. Oh, yes. That sweet, sweet aroma of our homeland. It shows that the wearer is a defense lawyer. It means nothing in Great Britain, of course, but I still wear it. Oh, I know exactly how you feel. Looking student, Mr. Naruto Esquire. My Haram Machiavellia bond! I don't feel right about it! Your Harumaki belly band? It's perfect for the cold English winters. It's just the thing to keep my tummy warm. Yes, I see the ink. Link. Almost. Mr. Natsumi, I'll bet this receipt. It occurs to me now that it was those confounded books that saw me arrested the first time too. Oh yes, I suppose that's true. After I spent my precious pennies on them. That's the thing I get. Now I don't know when I'll read them. No, not when. If! I may very well hit them too much to even open their covers. I don't know if we can blame the books for everything that happened. Does that understand me? Listen to me. What do you know about this? Ah, there it is! That living lowlife that took my nearest life and sent me sliding into the depths of despair. Slippery, sickly, psychotic saboteur! You really gone off the soap, haven't you? Absolutely. And I've made up my mind. The next time someone gives me soap as a present, it's... friendship finished firmly forever! I don't know if we can blame soap for everything that happened, Mrs. Simi. Oh. Can you tell us what happened last night then, Mr. Simi? There's nothing to tell, but Mr. Naruto Esquire, I'm eternally grateful to you for helping me with that cursed case yesterday. The case that saw poor Miss Green hospitalized after she ended up with a knife in her back. It's hard to believe that that was only yesterday. After the chat was over, I trudged my weary way back to my lowly lodging. And then, on that evening, at +9, it must have been, I visited Mr. Shakespeare. So, you did go to the detective's room then. As we feared. I didn't do anything wrong! I've never been to his room before! It was the first time! Then, what made you decide to go? I bumped into him when I arrived back at the house. We got chatting and it developed into a discussion. But he had to go out, so I bid him farewell. That ties in with what Mr. Garth said. That the victim went out and came back after it. We met again later that evening, at around 9 or just after. When I took him some nice tea I brewed as a gift. So it was you who brought the tea that had clearly been drunk at the scene then. And I suppose you were discussing the works of Shakespeare, were you? Yes, that's right. That's exactly right. Romeo and Juliet! Who was the stronger? It was a delightful debate. I'm sure. Such a stimulating subject, Shakespeare! And the debate became very heated. So you slipped poison in the Shakespeare's tea? No! Never! Not at all! Team Juliet won! That was me! And when I left this room, the flamboyant fellow was fighting fit! I swear it! Categorically! Misunderstood me. You often say the same thing about yourself, I've noticed. That you have a cursed assistant. I'm sure I mentioned this to you before, but I've been here in Great Britain for a year now. And in that time, I've learned that it's no place for me. It can be very trying to live in a foreign land and adapt to the ways of another culture. Those are foreigners everywhere I look, and they all stare at me. They all laugh. That's the impression I got whenever I go out. It makes me scared to leave my room. Which is why I became a recluse, but even in my room, I find no respite for my fears. I moved more times than I remember. Then, a week ago, I moved in the Bar Road. But why? I mean, why did you choose that place? It doesn't seem very comfortable. Because the rent is cheap. And I have little money, so it spoke to me. The rent? Obviously. There's a reason why it's cheap. Because the room is cursed. Cursed? Cursed high. The previous occupants, the man who lived there before I took the room, died there. Oh no! He was only a young man. But one morning he was found dead and no one could explain why. Surely no one would want to live in a room with a history like that. I didn't. When the lettering agent recommended the place, I wavered. But I want books! And books cost money! A horrible history is a small price to pay. When I realized it would mean I could buy more books. I signed the leash like lightning. Brave? Or blinkered it. After I move in, I soon came to realize what I've done. I realized how horrible that room's history really was. Gosh, was it really so awful? How did the room's horrible history affect you, Mr. Shimi? What happened? At first, it was just a feeling. The feeling of a beat the eyes burned under my back, watching me. You think that might just have been your mind playing tricks on you? No. My mind doesn't know any tricks. It was someone else. It's been one long nightmare ever since I was given the keys to the place. A nightmare? You've been having bad dreams, you mean? Oh, all the souls of who died didn't leaned over to me in my sleep and tried to strangle me! That really is horrible. And now I come to think about it, it happened again last night too. The very same night that Mr. Shakespeare was right, agony from the poison in his body. I was on the verge of being suffocated silently by those miserable spirits in the room. You simply must move out of that room as soon as possible. Yes, you're right. I know it, and that's why I'm already searching for the next room with a history to call home. I think perhaps you should try to avoid accommodations with any kind of history at all. Otherwise, I'm scared that you yourself may become history. Whew. Susanna-san knows how to make the man listen. Of course. Mr. Lord of the Manor is worried about the curse on my room as well. You misgrabbed it? Yes. He knows that people keep dying or he'll never be able to rent it out again. Well, that's true. I, for one, wouldn't go near the place. Ah! Perhaps. That makes me why no longer pay so much attention to the gas lamps as tenants' movements. You mean because he's worried about their well-being? He does seem to have an unusually keen interest in the amount of gas in the place, in the pipes. There must be a reason why he keeps such close tabs on the occupants of his left rooms. What do you mean? He pays so much attention to the gas lamps. Oh dear, no, it's nothing to do with Mr. me. Please, forget I said anything. Oh, now you're talking about me behind my back as well. What's important is what Mr. Chancellor is in fact dead at all. Once he came around, he was able to tell us what happened. We will be able to get you released. Yes, please. I do hope you're right. Excuse me. Inspector Grayson! I couldn't help overhear what you just said. And on that note, I have some good news and some bad news. Oh. Which you want to hear first? Always, every time, bad news comes first. When hope's all you have, hold on to it. That's my guiding principle. Right, well, in that case, the good news it is. Wow, what a dick. Huh? Sorry. But it's just a lot easier to explain everything that way. And why'd you ask my preference? As you may have heard, the victim, Mr. Shakespeare, was just unconscious. He's come around now. Yes, we saw it happen in most terrifying glory. He's still being treated by the doctor, so we might still get a written statement from him already. Oh, isn't that what everyone says to me? Oh, thank goodness. It's all over then. I can lead this on for sale. Sorry, no, that's not on the cards. What? Why never not, Inspector? Mr. Shakespeare has implicated someone who has been responsible for what happened last night. Implicated someone? Oh dear. You don't mean... I'm sorry to say, I do, yes. He pointed the finger at you, Mr. Natsumi. Arrgh! My sweet poison, he did his saveth to end his life. That wicked caliph, Tsuki Natsumi. No! So I'm afraid you'll be appearing in court as planned. you'll be wanting to make the necessary preparations. No! And so, once again, Sam found himself having to take to the docks in the Old Bailey. And whether his room was haunted or not, or whether he was just terribly unlucky, I knew I had no choice. The following day, I would represent him in court. I'd do my utmost to break the curse applied him. That's the end of the part, or? Yeah. Alright. I think that would be a nice little break point. We did basically an entire part. So, I shall wrap things up. I might change costumes because we have that option. In fact, yeah, that's what I'll do. I'll wrap things up here. Thanks for all tuning in. Hope it's a good day. Hope it's a good week. We'll be back on this Wednesday. I don't know. Well, hopefully. I don't know what's going to happen Wednesday. Tomorrow stream also might be a bit late if you're watching this just recently. I ended up on watching this on the channel, on the Twitch channel ahead of time before Tuesday stream pops up. And be honest, like I said, we don't know what's going to happen. Or if watching YouTube, then what I just said doesn't matter. Next stream after this, in terms of uploading schedule, should be still Monster Hunter. We're going with the old schools this week, both Monster Hunter. So no Stories 2, no Rise, good old Free U, GU, and Iceborne. So with that being said, I'll see you all next time. And then so have a good day. Bye.